Natural Step Canada, where I work, is based in Ottawa, and we work with organizations, communities, businesses to help them develop their long-term sustainability strategies and to implement those plans. Well, for me, they're really synonymous: environment, economy, social issues, are synonymous with sustainability. And it's one of the challenges, that sustainability itself is this term that's thrown around and used a lot, but not clearly understood. So for me, it's important because it really helps to paint the way to a more prosperous future for businesses, for communities, for NGOs. And having that clear understanding of what sustainability is, of what success is for your organization or community is critical if we're gonna figure out how we're gonna move in that direction. I think a lot of the sustainability stuff is simple. People tend to make it more complicated than it needs to be because we're used to making decisions a certain way. You know, we like our routines and normal patterns. We don't like to break out of them, and that's what the sustainability challenge that we're facing is asking us to do. It's saying, can we step up to the plate and do better than we are currently doing as humans living on this planet? So in terms of the rate of change for the challenges that we're facing, I mean, let's talk about the challenges for a second. We have unprecedented growth, population growth around the world. We have increasing demand for resources, for nature's ecosystem services, as many people call them: clean water, fresh air, materials, forest, fish, those types of things. So that's on one side of the scale. On the other side, we have this increasing demand for those resources. So right now, if we look at the average North American mode of consumption, and you put it all together using this ecological footprint term, we will need another 3 or 4 planets for everyone to live at the same standard of living that the average North American has. It's not possible. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to say at some point we're going to hit the walls of those fundamentals, and we're starting to see that in some sectors. So in terms of rate of change, no, we need to pick up the rate of change. And for me, the challenge is not only about technology. It's really, the challenge we're facing is really about leadership. We have a lot of the technical solutions. We have a lot of the answers. We've got people who are willing to step up to the plate. We need leaders who are going to emerge and step up and take on that challenge. So it's really a leadership gap that we have right now. It's not a technological gap. It's a leadership one. So we know, there's a general sense that we know we're heading in a direction that we can't continue in. And there's also a general sense that we know that we've got to change and do things differently. And this is why we're seeing more and more demonstration projects underway. So over the past 10 years, we've seen a huge increase in the attention to these environmental and social issues and the inherent unsustainability of our way of life. And simply that means it cannot last. So we're at 7 billion people on the planet sharing a common fate on this crowded planet, trying to live within the Earth's capacity to support us. And this has been one of the biggest challenges. So living in a sustainable way requires that we understand our connection to the natural world, and that we learn to live within the limits of one planet to meet our needs. The reason that we've been looking at neighborhoods and starting to work more at that scale, so we have done a lot of work at the city-wide or town scale, helping municipal governments and the town councillors, members of the public, create long-term plans and strategies. But at the neighborhood scale, where people live, work, and play, that's where people come together. So part of the reason neighborhoods are really important is, you know, new neighborhoods that are being developed, a lot of them are being developed and built in ways that are not sustainable. There's more and more urban sprawl that's creating more and more demand for resources, and at the other end of the pipe, at the other end of that, there's more and more pollution, more and more economic challenges that come out of that type of development. So being able to look at the neighborhood is really critical if we're going to address the sustainability challenges we're facing. And I'd also say that the neighborhood offers a place to comfortably engage people in a meaningful conversation about what the future can hold for them. How can we create a better world together? Most people, not most people, the majority of people over the last 50 years, while we've increased our wealth, our level of happiness has remained the same or decreased. And that's true in pretty much every developed country around the world. People don't have time to come together. So one of the ways in which we think that we'll be able to work a little closer with people to imagine and to envision a sustainable future is at the neighborhood scale. The terms municipal government, community, neighborhood, they are all interrelated. So for me, a community is a geographic region in which people live, share, work, play, etc. And it's synonymous in many respects to a neighborhood in the way that I think about them. In Calgary, for example, where we are today, there is a Federation of Calgary Communities, and there are 100 communities or more in the Calgary region that represent neighborhoods. So maybe a short definition is that communities are places that we live, work, and play. So these neighborhoods offer an opportunity for us to help and for others to help translate what those broad, high-level municipal sustainability plans mean. So a lot of communities have these goals and strategies that talk about waste reduction and energy. But what does that mean in your neighborhood? What does it mean for businesses, for you at home, for the role that the municipal government plays, for the role that other service providers play? And that's what this neighborhood project, the neighborhood thought leaders piece is about, is beginning to explore that and say, look, not only can we design our neighborhoods in a much better way, and we know we can, and a lot of cities in Canada are doing that, and Calgary is working on that too. There's a number of good examples in Alberta. You have down in Okotoks, you have Drake's Landing, you have Emerald Hills up in Strathcona County. You have some new projects that are coming on board in Edmonton. So there's a lot of little sort of demonstration projects that really show that there's a new way of designing our communities. As neighborhoods are trying to transition to a more sustainable model, there will be a number of challenges. Right now, we have a significant amount of infrastructure of buildings of neighborhoods that have been created. So retrofitting those up to a degree where they're highly energy efficient, bringing in the different types of services and creating parks so there's more walkability, that takes time. New neighborhoods, it's a little easier because you have a blank slate essentially, so you can put in place specific criteria for the design of new neighborhoods so that they're set up in a way that minimize resource consumption and address a lot of the issues I'd mentioned earlier. Existing neighborhoods, it's a little more challenging because they're already there. So that requires a deeper conversation with members of that particular neighborhood to talk about how they're going to come together and identify their different solutions. There's was a neat report that came out of came from Mark Anilski, who does a lot of work on economy. He's an economist up at the University of Alberta, I think. He did an ecological footprint study across Canada of Canadian communities or municipal governments. And he found that right now, so the concept basically looks at how much resources we're consuming compared to others and compared to a threshold that the planet and natural ecosystems can provide. So we found that Canadians in particular were pretty much the worst in the world. I think we were third in terms of resource, energy, consumption. And that's because of how we've set ourselves up to live. We spend a lot of our time running around busy working, worrying about things, buying things, accumulating more stuff. And that's resulted in sort of a decrease in the quality of life and in the general happiness of the population. In Europe, in the UK, they've done some great work on wealth and happiness. So I would say one of the trade-offs that we can expect is that we would be a little less busy than we are right now. So for some people who are workaholics, that might be a bit of a challenge, but and that would also mean that our incomes might also go down a bit too. But what that creates is an opportunity for people to reconnect with others in their neighborhoods, in their lives, and spend more time with them. I think some of the other trade-offs is that we won't always have the next newest gadget. We're driven right now, and it's part of our biology, but we're driven to consume in many ways. We need to have the latest iPhone, the next fanciest car, and that mode of consumption that we exist with right now is something that is quite challenging. So we had developed this neat resource called Sustainability at Home, which is a guidebook on how you can think differently, start asking questions differently about all the stuff that you're buying, and start making decisions and purchasing products that you want, but doing it in a way that has less of an impact. So although there are trade-offs, I think there are also lots of benefits that will come with those different trade-offs. One of the big challenges is energy and energy consumption. Most of our buildings are very energy inefficient, and there are good opportunities now to retrofit your buildings. There's different incentives that are out there. So that's one way of trying to address the challenges in the short term. For example, the federal government right now has an energy retrofit program which provides money to do an assessment of your current house and to help you identify the key things that you could do, like insulation, upgrading your furnace, that will save you money in the long run and also reduce greenhouse gas emissions and other types of pollution. Essentially, neighborhoods really are the places that we feel need attention, both the existing neighborhoods, which have built up infrastructure that will take years and years for us to change, and also in particular the new neighborhoods that we're allowing to be built